Okay, perfect, perfect. Just a moment, I connect to Vietnam.
Dạ vâng anh ơi.
Ok, rồi anh sẽ làm cái cách là anh để hai cái máy, một máy này nối với em, một máy nối với bên Natalie. Bây giờ anh đang làm rồi. Ok, thì em cứ để nối em thu băng từ phía bên em nhé.
Anh ơi, em thấy là ở bên tên của mỗi người ấy anh, thì nó có một dấu cộng, thì đấy không phải là có em thì em lúc nãy em có thử làm thì nhưng đấy là cái tương tác để mình có thể đặt ba người cùng lúc anh ạ.
Nhưng mà thôi được, không cần. Bây giờ anh làm thế này cũng coi như là có hai cái này làm cộng một cái thì được rồi nhé.
Anh có nghe rõ em nói không?
Nghe rất tốt, nghe rất tốt. Ok, thế em cứ ngồi bên đó nghe nhé. Anh bắt đầu bắt tay vào với công việc với cô bên này, bắt đầu phỏng vấn bên này rồi nhé. So, Natalie, are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. Just a moment, I will for volume, better volume.
Em không nghe rõ cô ấy làm đâu nhưng mà thưa em.
Nghe được chưa? Okay, it's okay, Natalie.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, after okay, 1 minute, we will now 9:58. 1 minute, we will start.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi Natalie. Anh ơi, chị có nghe được em nói không nhỉ?
Tốt.
Chắc không đúng.
Nghe tốt, rất rõ.
Em có thể chào chị một câu được không?
Okay, you from Vietnam.
Hi Natalie.
Natalie.
Hello. Hello.
Hi Natalie, I'm Huimin from Vietnam.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how are you doing?
Tuan, can you turn it up just a little bit?
Yes. Okay. Okay. No problem. He from Vietnam, but he only say something with you, some words with you. But I will directly to talk and discuss with you.
Okay, just the volume was a little low.
Yes. Yes. Now we start.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. New Year 2013. Prepare came with us today. Yet VietnamNet 2 stars organize a special web chat with Natalie Pulito, great artist, young artist, opera sopranos in Boston. Thank you so much for your spend time with us, Natalie. How are you now?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
Yes. So you have just visit Vietnam in this April.
Yeah.
You have some memory and something remember about the trip in Vietnam in April?
Oh, I have so many memories. It was truly one of the greatest experiences of my life. You know, it was so wonderful, Tuan, to learn from you about the culture before going there, and then to meet all of the wonderful people. I think that's one of the things that stands out to me most is how warm and welcoming everyone was to us in Vietnam, and we really felt like we were part of the family and that we had come home. I think the highlight of the trip for me was probably when we went to the National Academy of Music in Hanoi and had the opportunity to teach a master class to the students there. Something I will never forget, mostly because they were so talented and so interested and willing to work hard and change things in the moment. You know, it's so hard to do a master class with a teacher that you don't know, and even with a language barrier that we had. But they were just wonderful, and I was so inspired by their great talent and their dedication to opera and to music. And I left feeling completely inspired and would love to come back and teach there again.
Yeah, great. So you came by a free for concert fund with a mission, and that is a strategy and mission from Charles Ansbacher. So you connected from Charles Ansbacher 2010, and now 2012 you came, and you can share about free for concert fund and Charles mission and ideology to bring classical music to all, for the all people.
Sure. Well, I feel really lucky to work for the Free for All Concert Fund. It's a wonderful organization in Boston founded by Charles Ansbacher. About 10 years or so ago, Charles founded the Boston Landmarks Orchestra, which has grown to become one of the highlights of the summer art season in Boston, drawing crowds of 10 to 11,000 people on the Esplanade on the Charles River. And the idea behind that was really to bring music to all people. So regardless of their economic background or their society, their class in society, or whether or not they had heard music before, it meant that they could come to this place and hear music for free, high quality, wonderful music that would inspire them. And Free for All has taken that idea to a new level, and as a foundation, we are able to fund many organizations in Boston who are doing this kind of wonderful work to bring music to all people. And you know, Charles, of course, was very lucky to come to Vietnam as well and conduct the National Symphony. He was the first American to do so in 2010. And I know that that really inspired him to continue on his work with Free for All before he passed away in late in 2010, because he saw the importance of music to create reconciliation between people and the great power that it has to kind of transcend anything that words can do, and you know, bring people together, like I said, regardless of language, regardless of where they're from, and create those bonds of reconciliation and healing.
Yes, you can share your some memory stories, some impressive about Vietnam trip, about country, about people, and you have new friends in Vietnam National Academic Music Academic. Yes, you can share with our audience about that. Some stories, special stories, impressive story in Vietnam when you performed in Vietnam, in Hanoi, in Ho Chi Minh City.
Yes. There's so many wonderful people we met. It's hard to pick just a few memories, but at the National Academy, when we performed our final opera gala, one of the things that was so special is that we had learned a Vietnamese song, thanks to Tuan, helped us learn the song, and to sing that together with the other opera singers from Vietnam who we were collaborating with was truly a magical moment. I will never forget being on that stage and then looking out into the audience, and so many of the people we had met on our trip were there in the audience to support our concert, and it was just the perfect culmination of a wonderful time over there. Also, let's see, we had a wonderful time in Ho Chi Minh City as well, and absolutely loved the energy of that city. It reminded me a lot of Boston, actually, in a way, in that there's a lot of young people and new ideas and fresh energy and always busy in the city. And, you know, of course, since I live in Boston, I love the big city, and I loved Ho Chi Minh City. And another highlight, I think, was when we were able to, in Hanoi, tour Ho Chi Minh's house and had a very special moment there where we were able to sing there in the home and had a very special ceremony and a little token that we were each given. That was something that I think very few people will ever have the opportunity to do in their lifetime, and truly represented the spirit of friendship between Vietnam and America. At least in us, you know, we feel that we found true friends there, and that was a symbol of that for us.
Yes, why you choose opera and soprano? That is very difficult and need a very high skills and a very special skill with sopranos and opera and very challenging. So why you choose opera and soprano?
Well, you know, it is very difficult and very competitive, but in some ways, I guess it chose me. I started singing when I was 5 years old. I started in church choir and absolutely loved it. I was kind of a quiet kid, and that kind of helped me get out of my shell. And then when I was a little bit older, around age 10 or 11, I had the opportunity to join a very prestigious children's chorus in Chicago called the Glen Ellen Children's Chorus, which is now called Anima. And through that, I was exposed to opera and high-quality classical music at a very young age. So starting around age 11 or 12, I had been in the chorus of my first opera. We did Tosca at the Ravinia Festival in Chicago, and hearing those opera singers for the first time was, I just don't have any words for it. I mean, I knew in that moment when I heard that soprano that it was something that I wanted to do and that I wanted to try. And so I started taking voice lessons, you know, and found that I definitely had a voice that lended itself more towards classical singing than musical theater. And fell in love with opera, decided to study it in a college. I attended Northwestern University in Chicago, and then moved to Boston for my master's degree at the Boston Conservatory, which is where I really honed my skills and learned about the business and what it really took to pursue this professionally. As you said, you know, it's not an easy career choice. It's extremely competitive, and you know, you have to spend a lot of time in the practice room by yourself, learning music, hours and hours of studying on your own to learn just one role. But I find, you know, there's nothing like being on stage and getting to portray another character that is someone other than you and get into their mind and really...
Just a moment. Hello? 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 Hello, hello. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Just a moment. Because I have some problem. So you continue a little bit. Okay, I'm sorry. So we continue with the question. That is we would like to know that is Natalie. What is your idol? What is your idol? Who is your idol?
My idol in opera or?
Yes, in opera. In opera.
In opera. Oh, that's such a hard question. Well, one of my all-time favorite opera singers is Cecilia Bartoli, who is actually a mezzo-soprano, not a soprano like me. But the thing that I love about her is, if you've ever seen her perform live, the expression that she can get in her face, which then translates into the music, is unbelievable. You can just feel her energy, and every word she says has so much meaning, and she really feels it from the depths of her soul. So I've long admired her musicality and her expression, and would love to have a career like her someday.
Yes, so you can share with our audience the first your performance that is very great, impressive. Your first your performance in your life.
The first performance of my life?
Yes, at that time, I think you have special feelings in the first time to come and sing to audience. What is your feeling and what is your special the first time?
You know, it's very hard to put into words the way it feels to perform for an audience and to get their reaction back at you and just really, as I was starting to say, throw yourself into a character and really become that person. I think the first time I fully felt that as an adult professional opera singer was just a few years back in 2007. I had the opportunity to sing the role of Violetta in La Traviata with a small opera company in Boston called Opera by the Bay. And the performance was in a very intimate performance hall, so you could kind of really connect with the audience and feel that you were close to the people you were singing for. And throughout that rehearsal process, it was kind of the first big Italian role I had ever sung as a professional singer. And to really get into her mind and what made that character tick was so fascinating to me. And then to translate that into being on the stage, and I felt as if I truly became Violetta, that she was a part of me. I had never felt that before, and it was thrilling, and you know, something that I've felt since then and that I hope to do over and over again. But that experience taught me so much about using your entire body as an instrument and becoming the character that you are trying to portray.
Yes, right. And what is your hobby? And outside with opera, and what is your most hobby and how you spend time with your hobby?
Well, singing opera doesn't leave me a lot of time for hobbies, I have to admit. I feel like my hobbies are singing, singing, and more singing. But I do, let's see. Well, I love working in the arts, and I volunteer for a small opera company in Boston called Boston Opera Collaborative. I sit on their board of directors and was actually a founding member of the company back in 2006. And it has really been fascinating to me through that experience to learn about the other side of the opera business, that being the arts administration side, and what it really takes to run an opera company and to run a business, primarily arts, but especially with Boston facing a lot of challenges in terms of arts funding and in terms of the opera scene. You know, unfortunately, a major opera company in Boston, Opera Boston, just closed last year. And that was a major blow to the arts community, definitely. So working with Boston Opera Collaborative in my free time has given me an opportunity to educate people about opera and to advocate for the art form that I love and to learn about the business side of the music world.
Oh, great. And what is your college, in your close relationship with the college? Who is the most interesting college?
The most what? Sorry.
Most interesting, most close relationship.
Relationship with the college?
Yes, college. Who is most close relationship with you?
Well, I attended the Boston Conservatory for my master's degree, and I have to credit Catherine Wright, who was my voice teacher there, as being an unbelievable miracle worker and good friend and second mother to me in so many ways. She and I have maintained a very close relationship, and she really, when I came to grad school, rebuilt my voice from the ground up. You know, I already had the foundation of a good instrument, and I believe to some extent you're born with that. But she really taught me techniques that would allow me to sing on the opera stage and be heard and be healthy and maintain my voice for many, many years to come. And she's just been a wonderful mentor and is a wonderful person. I would recommend any young student who came to Boston to study with her at the Boston Conservatory.
Yes, and one audience sent you a question that is, as the artist, you artists, they often creative and sometimes no planning, unchanged planning, and maybe faced with sometimes difficult in their life. So with your life, you have been faced with challenge and difficult from artists life?
Challenges of the artist's life. That's a great question. Well, it's a difficult one. You know, I'll be honest, I just spent 3 months working with the Virginia Opera in the state of Virginia, singing a touring production of Hansel and Gretel. So we toured to grade schools all over the state. I performed the role about 70 times, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, which in itself is challenging. But I think the biggest challenge in all of that is that I have a husband who I love very much, who I had to leave behind in Boston. And that's one of the big challenges of this career, is to leave the people that you love behind and to, you know, have to be on the road. I was living out of a suitcase for 3 months and staying in hotels and missing all the comforts of home. But at the same time, it's wonderfully exciting. On this tour that I'm speaking of now, I met 3 of the greatest friends I've ever met anywhere, and that I know I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. So there are huge rewards and huge sacrifices to pursue this career.
Yeah. So what you create new and innovation for your performance, because art and music, operas always need and require creative, how your creativity is in your performance.
That's a really great point. And again, I think that's one of the challenges of opera, is to keep things unique and fresh every time. Again, this Hansel and Gretel tour is a great example of that. So I performed the role of Gretel about 70 times during this tour, which for anyone is a huge number of times to sing a role in 1 year. And, you know, it really takes, sometimes you're tired, and some days you don't want to get up there and do it at 9 o'clock in the morning. It takes an energy from inside of you that you don't even know you've had. But the thing that really kept it alive for me and made me able to do it every day is working with my colleagues on stage. I was blessed to have some very creative and fun people on stage to work with, and we would try new things every day. So, you know, in our choreographed dance section, we might throw in a new surprise that would take the other actor, singer off guard, but it would make things fresh, and it would make us laugh, and it would keep the energy and the characters new for us, even after doing it many, many, many times.
Yes. Sopranos and opera need creativity, but in opera, your income cannot compare with pop music and singers. So how you can foster your passion, your career, when you can see another singers in pop music and jazz music, and so you are they need that our audience share and would like to learn from you. That is your career need very high skills, very very high quality of artists, but lower income than another music, as pop music and jazz music and rock music. So what do you think about that, and how you passion foster and maintain your passion?
That's a great question. You know, and I think that's really one of the tragedies of the music appreciation in our society today, is that pop and rock singers are so highly paid, and really obscenely high amounts of money, and in most cases are not trained at all. I don't think anyone realizes what intensive training a classical opera singer goes through in order to be on the stage singing a role. You know, I attended university and graduate school for 6 years, and I'm 30 years old now, and I continue my studies, which is, of course, a very expensive endeavor to pay for voice teachers and coaches, and I travel to New York frequently to study with skilled conductors and coaches who will help me in my career. So the cost of pursuing your art never goes away, because you're always learning and you're always trying to improve your craft. And I don't think anyone realizes, you know, what intense training we go through. It's kind of like being an athlete, actually. Your whole body is your instrument. You have to learn how to breathe and how to move and how to have the stamina to sometimes sing a role that could be 4 hours long. And, you know, unfortunately, there's not, at least in the United States, a large appreciation for the art form of opera. And because of that, it is hard to make a living. I will admit that. I have done very well, and I'm very lucky for the opportunities I've had in the years. But comparatively, there's a gross difference between what a rock singer or a pop singer would be paid and in how much they're appreciated by American society. So one of the things that I hope to do is to change that perception, and I think part of that starts with educating the young people, the kids, the students, about the art form, about classical art, not just opera, but all of the classic arts, and getting them to appreciate it young so that they will become the opera audiences of the future, and hopefully we can kind of change this cycle. But in terms of how I make it work, you know, there's a lot of things that I do to help me supplement my income. You know, I teach voice lessons. I work with the Free for All Concert Fund, which is something that I love to do. It's another passion of mine, like I said, to work on arts administration type of work. But most opera singers have more than one job, at least here in the United States, and have very, you know, gigs that take them all over the country and are traveling to many different places to make ends meet. So it's a difficult life, but I also feel that if it's something you're truly passionate about, like I am, it's something that you will do no matter what. I mean, I would do this if it paid me in, you know, cereal. Anything to do this art form. It's what I live and breathe for, and I would do it no matter what. I can't imagine a world in which I didn't do it. And I think that if that's what you feel as an artist, then you're doing the right thing.
Yes, in Vietnam, there are some artists, musicians. They try to bring classical music together with pop music to approach broader audience. So, what do you think about this way?
You know, I don't think it's all bad. I think that if it's done in a good way, it can be positive. I think if the singers who are doing that are well trained and using good singing technique. I mean, too often, at least here in America, the people who are doing this crossover type of work like you described, where kind of more of a pop singer is taking operatic repertoire and introducing it to the public, too often in America, those singers are not well trained and are actually possibly doing harm to their voice that will prevent them from being able to sing in the future because they're not singing with proper vocal technique and proper breathing. So I think it can be a problem because then it encourages young students of opera or voice to sing with bad technique like that because it's what they hear. But I think if it's done in a good way with good technique and, you know, the education component is there to teach them about what these pieces are coming from, that it's from a larger opera, and these are wonderful stories that people should learn about, then I think it can be positive, but technique is key.
Yes, and what you can say with our audience about your life in Boston?
My life in Boston is wonderful. I have lived there almost 9 years now, which is hard to believe. But, you know, I never imagined I would stay there, actually. I grew up in Chicago, which is another wonderful city, and where all my family is. And I imagined after grad school that I would move back there. But I just fell in love with the city. As I was saying, just like Ho Chi Minh City, the energy is so contagious, and there's so many young people, and always something new going on. You know, I love having all of the major universities there. My husband works at MIT, So I've gotten to know the MIT community very well, which is fascinating. A lot of amazing scientists there. And having Harvard and having, 3 or 4 major music conservatories in one place creates a really exciting environment where you can work with living composers who are at the top of their field and who are just, going to be the next big thing, but they live right there in Boston, and getting to collaborate with people like that is thrilling. So it's a great city with beautiful places and lots of smart and interesting people, and I imagine I'll be there for a long time to come.
Yes, there are a lot of people name Boston is a creative city, or city for upper city. Boston is a city upper creativities. What do you think about that name and slogan, a nickname about Boston? That is creative.
City of creativity.
Yeah.
I think that's a great slogan. I would love to hear that more. And absolutely true. I mean, I think when you put that many young, well-educated people in one place, you're bound to have innovation and creativity, both in the science field and the medical field and in the arts field. There's just so many opportunities for new ideas to take shape when you put those many talented people together. And like I said, especially in music, we are home to one of the greatest symphonies, I think, in the world, Boston Symphony Orchestra. We have a wealth of other incredible arts organizations in the city, Boston Lyric Opera, and a number of others. And I think that really speaks to the cultural intensity that's available in the city. Everything you could want is available at your fingertips.
Yes, a slogan of Boston Forum is creative ideas for humanity, and that is and you work and support for Free for Concert Fund. Also, that is bring creativity for humanities, for the people. Yeah. So, what do you think about slogan, creative ideas for humanities?
I love that, and you're right. That perfectly describes what Free for All is doing. In the way that things are, especially with funding for the arts right now, it's forcing us to be creative. We have to be entrepreneurial. We have to think outside of the box, because people aren't getting arts education the way that they used to, and there isn't the funding for the arts. So if we bring the arts to the people, which is the idea behind Free for All, we make this free, high-quality music available to everyone who would want to hear it. We put the music in places where people already are, so the subway stations or the Hat Shell at the Esplanade outside along the river. People will gather there, and they'll hear the music, and they'll be exposed to it. And, I think that's a real gift to humanity, and something that's very much needed in society, and to really kind of heal our country. Yes,
in classical music and opera, there are two things. That is emotion, emotion feeling, or technique. What is the most important with a performance artist in operas?
Emotion versus technique?
Yes.
That's a tough question, because I would say that both are equally important, actually. You can't really have one without the other. I think we've all probably heard a performance where you hear a singer who is technically perfect, and there were no mistakes and nothing wrong with their voice, but it was completely void of emotion and didn't make us feel anything. And at the same time, we've probably heard a singer who is incredibly passionate and their voice is cracking all over the place and they have no technique to hold things together. So I think you really can't have one without the other, and you become a real artist when you're able to combine the two together. And actually, as opera singers, we're all constantly working on that balance and to make sure that we have both of those solidly in our foundation.
And you can perform a flute.
Yeah.
Yep. Our audience recognize you can perform flute. So you can share with our audience why you choose flute to play more and add together with sopranos, and how that make your more quality in your music and your voice, your songs.
Well, I think every vocalist, every opera singer, classical singer should learn an instrument. It's really valuable and will make you a better musician. I think too often singers get a bad reputation for not being great musicians. But if you learn an instrument early on, you'll learn more about music theory and how to sight read and how to play as part of an ensemble, which I think is also useful in opera. If you study an instrument. So I picked up the flute when I was in 4th grade here in the States, so I was probably about 9 years old, and everyone in our school had the opportunity to pick an instrument to join the school's band. And of course I picked the flute because I liked singing high, and flute plays high, so kind of the same thing. I was drawn to the sound of it. And you know, I played all through college as well, so for many, many years I studied the flute, and I think it really, like I said, made me a stronger musician and made me understand how an orchestra works. When I am singing with an orchestra, I played with one, so I understand what they're doing down in the pit. And I just love it too. You know, it's just fun to play, and unfortunately I don't have as much time these days now that I'm pursuing an opera career to take my flute out and play, but maybe I'll be inspired now after talking about it just now.
Yes, that is great. So what is your thinking about future
State opera